to another Black Sunday. So, I wanted to talk to you about confirmation bias. It's a two-way street. In the world of logic, in the world of argumentation and debate, confirmation bias is a horrible thing. In the world of research and testing and science, confirmation bias is a horrible, horrible thing. Because what you're dealing with is, well, let's define it. Confirmation bias is simply having an idea before you go into the question. When you are analyzing data, or when you are in a debate, and there are multiple pieces on the table, confirmation bias says, oh, I am looking for this particular outcome, and so you will rearrange the data as best you can and exclude certain data and include other data, and you may falsely rely on old data. And I mean, there's a ton of things that can happen, a cascade effect of basically false interpretation of data, false stringing of data in a logical sequence, exclusion of data, inclusion of irrelevant data, whatever, that will make whatever you are looking for suit your end. This is why we instituted double-blind testing in the scientific procedure. You see, double-blind testing, in fact, is kind of a safeguard against confirmation bias. We know this. Confirmation bias has been confirmed through psychological testing over the years. I believe it was the 60s when they first confirmed it, and they've confirmed it since, and other satellite pieces to that problem as well. Humans simply desire to be right, and we desire to make sense of things and put things into neat, tidy little boxes. It's just a basic human desire, and it takes a lot of introspection and analysis to really overcome that. It's very much a childish desire to make sense of things before we have the pieces to make sense of things. This is basically when you say, we don't understand this, thus it must be blank. It's the problem with religion, it's the problem with mysticism and New Ageism, it's a problem in general. When we can say, we don't understand, therefore it must be, well, it mustn't necessarily be. Sometimes I don't know is the best answer, because I don't know allows you to keep on questioning, to keep on searching, to keep on refining and building. I don't know is the best answer when we don't know. The desire to be right is far inferior. It may make us feel good, but it is far inferior to being accurate. And the world is already subjective as it is. I mean, reality is so subjective to our personal lenses as it is. I've spoken before on the concept of emulation. Emulation is a term used by at least one researcher in a paper that I was reading. It's the process of our brains using existing information to fill in the gaps, to recognize and analyze the data that surrounds us on an everyday basis. It's not so much of a research phenomenon, this idea of emulation is, but it's more of this idea of when we're experiencing life, we relate things to anchors, as learning specialists might call them. We relate things to anchors, pre-existing knowledge. And so when we have a pre-existing knowledge base, we can go, oh, now I understand that because I understand this. And so now we have this web work kind of springing out from the central us. We understand things at a fundamental level when we're infants, when we're still forming. We understand very little about the real world. We spend a lot of time touching things and tasting things and smelling things and looking at things. we spend those formative years kind of just experiencing our environment. Everything stems off of a feeling, really. And that feeling is, of course, interpreted by our nervous system, which, of course, is influenced by our hormonal balance and our genetic makeup and all that. So very much speaking, everything is so very individually subjective. And it makes finding reality a task in and of itself. And then so with this idea of emulation, we have this idea of, well, everything starts off of a feeling, and then we can kind of put ideas to the feelings, and we put words to the ideas, and then now that we've got words, ideas, and feelings, we can kind of start branching out and going, okay, well, this matches this idea, and this matches this idea. Oh, these words go together, and these words go together, and oh, I put these words together, and it creates this other thing. And eventually we get this massive network of knowledge, or at least of self-knowledge. And then we take all that, and now we have this existing body of data, and we go, oh, okay. And then we get these intangible questions that happen in life, and they happen very early on. We start realizing that there are more things to life than what we're experiencing right at the moment. We start going, oh, politics, oh, religion, oh, the unknown, oh, outer space, oh, outer deep sea. We get all these ideas, and we start going, oh, but I don't know, and I can't go there, and I can't observe, and I can't feel. But I wonder, well, based on what I know now, this makes sense. This is emulation at play. But then the idea is we let that go too far into, oh, this idea that I've created is very appealing. This is the root of the word believe. Believe means to like something, means it is pleasing. It's the fundamental difference between the words belief and faith. Faith means to trust. Belief means to like. They're very, very different ideas. And belief is fundamentally useless, understanding that context. And so you have this idea of, well, I like this idea, therefore I believe in this idea, and because it makes me all happy and fuzzy and it doesn't seem to cause anybody else any pain, I'm going to just hang on to this. And then when all of a sudden we're looking at studies that other people are doing that happen to be in that field of interest, we go, oh, see, they're looking into it. But it doesn't match up to what I believe. But if I put this here and this and this and this and rearrange these two things here, oh, now it makes sense. I was right. They put it in the wrong order. No. You see, that's confirmation bias at work. You are reordering. You are adding and excluding. You are picking and choosing. You're cherry picking what information works for you, what information doesn't work for you. You are stringing things together in logic that you either do not understand. Most people don't understand logic. Or you are simply stringing things together based on feeling, and that doesn't work either. So this idea of confirmation bias, it is a horrible, horrible thing that taints science, and it forces us to do things like double-blind testing, because if we don't double-blind test, then we have no idea what the reality is. And even with double-blind testing, there's no guarantee of absolute outcome, and there's always potential problems with an experiment. There's always data that is approximated and not absolute. It's very difficult to find any absolute data anywhere. Most science is approximated. It's the whole idea behind chaos theory, is that everything is approximated, and if you really start looking into the details, things are not quite as clean as we have labeled them. And so you're dealing with all of this, and you go, well, but we have confirmation bias for a reason, right? Well, I'll tell you, nothing happens for any reason other than just simple mechanical. I'm lost on the word. Anyway, it's mechanics. It's mechanical. The only reason anything happens is because cause and effect, causality. That's the word I was looking for. Causality, it's it. There is no great mover, at least not so far as science can tell. There is no great mover behind the machine. There is simply the machine. And the fact is, that we can quite clearly see that point A leads to point B, leads to point C, and despite the fact that you have a million trillion parts moving all at once, interacting with each other, makes for a blinding complexity that is hard for anybody to understand, which is why we approximate so much. And so dealing with that, yes, there is no actual reason in the philosophical sense. There's no one putting it there for you. But there is a use. There is a use for confirmation bias. You see, success coaches the world over will tell you you have to place yourself in a position of success before you actually gain success. You have to put yourself in the mindset of a successful person. You have to put yourself in the idea of begin with the end in mind. You know, it's one way to put it. You have to deal with this idea of, if I want to be this better version of me, then I have to place myself and be this better version of me right now. Not wait for it to happen, but I have to do the thing and be the guy right now. And because we physically, psychologically, habitually are not there yet, it's the idea of fake it till you make it, right? And that's where this idea of confirmation bias can become a good thing. We create these ideas that we like. I want to be the hero. I want to be, you know, the noble. I want to be the rich businessman. I want to be the loving husband and father, whatever. So you're not there yet. Start acting, start doing, start playing, start thinking like the person that you want to be will think. Maybe you don't know how that will happen. And of course you have to allow things to evolve. You can't resist the evolution, you have to simply observe it, and when things are evolving in a poor fashion, simply choose to evolve in another direction. But you can create an air of confirmation bias through things like meditation and affirmations. Create a persona of success. And I'm using the term success very generically here. Most people think of success as in, you know, becoming rich and or famous. That's not necessarily the case, but simply becoming the person that you want to be, becoming, you know, the position that you want to have, whatever. You know, people say dress for the job you want, not the job you have. Work for the job you want, not the job you have. That kind of idea. It's the same thing. You have to place yourself one step ahead of where you are, or two steps ahead of where you are. And so you create this idea of confirmation bias. You create a psychological atmosphere where you go, well, I am this person. So you start looking for solutions to problems as a successful person. When it's time to make a decision, you make a decision as you would as this successful person would. You don't make the decision as you know, the slob on the couch does. You make the decision as the guy concerned with his health does. You don't make the decision as the wage worker does. You make the decision as the boss would. You may not be there yet, but you can create psychologically an air of excellence, an air of superiority, an air of being who you want to be, being who you need to be, before you ever are actually there. And that's where confirmation bias can work in your favor. So yes, in logic, in debate, in science, confirmation bias is a horrible, horrible thing. But in personal development, it can work in your favor. And it can work horribly against you, because when you start aligning yourself with the ideas of who you were, it's hard to escape that idea. If you identify yourself as an out-of-shape person, you're going to have a much, much more difficult time becoming a not out-of-shape person, because that identity factor, that confirmation bias says, well, okay, so when it's time to make a decision, when it's time to look at data, you make your decisions, you interpret the data based on who you are right here. But it's time for you to start thinking about who you are over there and start thinking about how you would make those decisions, how you would interpret the situation as that person over there. If you're a martial artist, I don't care if you're a white belt, if you haven't started lessons yet, if you're a blue belt, if you're a newbie, it doesn't matter. Start thinking like a black belt. Start thinking like an advanced practitioner. Start thinking like a world champion. Because that's what really seems to make or break the game. My best win in competition came from me visualizing my win. It came from me putting myself in a position of victory. Not thinking in terms of what if this, what if that. No, it came from me thinking in terms of I'm going to win, and I'm going to win in this way. And God damn it, I did. And it's because I placed myself in a psychological atmosphere to use that confirmation bias to look for the opening to get the win. And it worked. And I did. I didn't even do it on purpose. I didn't know what I was doing then. It just happened that way. Now that I know what's happening, well, God damn it, it's time to repeat it. It's the same time for you. Figure out who you want to be. Figure out what you want to do. Place yourself in those shoes. Get yourself a 3x5 card and create for yourself an air of confirmation bias about the person that you want to be, about the person you want to evolve into. Whether it be father and husband, whether it be the hero, whether it be the successful businessman, whatever it be. Choose who you're going to be. Meditate on it. Silent affirmations, vocal affirmations. Focus on who you are going to be in the positive present tense. It will make a difference. It will help, and you will start problem solving like the successful version of you. That's all I got for you. I will talk to you guys later. Good journey.